And now, it's my great pleasure to introduce The Talking Room with Adam Savage.
Which one do I take? I'll take this one. Hey, so welcome to The Talking Room. We have borrowed all the elements from The Talking Room, including my dining room chairs. Winston the Beaver, the patron saint of The Talking Room, is there, and he's holding on to the card that says who our next guest is. She's a hero of mine. She's an astronauticist, an aeronauticist, an MIT professor, a doctor, and recently deputy director of NASA. Please welcome to the stage, Dava Newman. Come on up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You know, I have to tell you, in preparation for your arrival, we had to have lots of discussions about how many of my spacesuits we should actually transport over here. So you also are a spacesuit designer, of like the future of spacesuits, right? That, like the first time I met you.
We're going to Mars.
We're going to Mars.
But back to the beaver mascot. What a great mascot. That's the world's engineer. We got a beaver up here with us.
Exactly. Now, what I really want to talk about first off is the Martian.
Okay.
The Martian's gotten me all excited, not only about the next spacesuit I'm probably going to build, but how realistic is the Martian overall?
It is fantastic. How many people have seen it? I hope everybody. It's, Andy, first back to the book. He did a great job. He did so much research. He got the technology right. Took a little artistic license. He told you when he did. And then Ridley Scott with the movie, they were spot on. It's the best movie in terms of space yet, in terms of, I think, the factual reality, besides the documentary.
Well, and you know, I don't know if you know this, but we had a tested event last weekend, and Andy and Chris Hadfield were there, and someone asked us, the three of us, if we would go to Mars. And Andy said, no way in hell, because he's actually flight phobic.
He doesn't fly.
And NASA got him over his fear of flying when they offered him trips to their various facilities, and he figured, I can work up to that and get it going. I'm really curious. I think the main thing I thought when I read the book, The Martian, and then saw the movie, is that the biggest leap in technology that's implied is in the spacesuit itself. Unlike the bulky EVA suits that we grew up seeing in the Apollo missions and now in the ISS, the Martian suits are very, very sleek, and they reminded me a lot of your spacesuit design. How realistic is that?
I think it's really realistic. It's, I mean, a tight form-fitting. It's great that you have this, right? I mean, we started a little bit more form-fitting way back, and then we've gotten bigger, and weightlessness. Up on International Space Station, you're floating, so you can add mass, you can still do your work. But we're going to Mars, and so we need a planetary suit, so it has to be low mass, very mobile, very flexible.
What are the different engineering challenges between moving from the large suit? I mean, it's got positive pressure inside. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming the form-fitting suits will also have positive pressure inside, but is it less volume?
Maybe a hybrid, so less volume. So there's two ways to pressurize someone in the vacuum of space. You can put them in a balloon. Then you have to work against the balloon, so they're not very mobile. But if we make the balloon really small, and what if we could pressurize right on the skin? That's called mechanical counterpressure. So we have to look at these concepts because, again, you want to give someone their natural mobility because they have a lot of work to do. We're going to Mars to explore, search for life, and the Martian extreme environment. You saw Bobik's pictures of Mars. You might have noticed that Valles Marineris, it's cool. The Grand Canyon, but the Valles Marineris stretches across the entire United States.
Wow.
So no, that's a valley. Olympus Mons, Everest, puny. Olympus Mons is something. So, we got to be ready for that incredible Martian terrain.
Now, you were recently named Deputy Director of NASA twice, am I right?
Well, I was nominated twice. I got confirmed once.
Oh, okay. That's a very different mission than designing spacesuits and teaching at MIT. How has that changed your life?
Well, obviously, I think I had the world's best job teaching students and doing research and thinking about how we get humans to Mars, training students that all want to be astronauts and do the mission. And then given the opportunity to join the government, I always wanted to serve, and it's great timing. I think we have great momentum, and so I'm just kind of humbled and honored. I joined Charlie Bolden, the administrator, and we have a great team, and we're pretty focused on our journey to Mars. So it's been great. I have to tell you, this is something else. It's been a great job.
But as an engineer, I'm finding myself, you've traveled to all the NASA facilities, am I right?
I did. In July and August, I went and saw all of them. I worked at about half of them before, so I thought I knew NASA, but now I've traveled to all of them, and every single one, I learned so much, and the people are so motivated, and they're doing great things, and we're building our Space Launch System, we're building Orion, we're going, first we're at International Space Station now. Shout out to Scott Kelly, he's up there, just 400 kilometers up. Every 90 minutes, he's going over. So we're doing our one-year mission, and we're learning a lot about astronaut performance, human health, and we move beyond low Earth orbit, and we get to cislunar, Earth-Moon orbit, and we call that the proving ground. We're proving technologies. We have to, learn how to do these things. It's hard. We're further away from Earth. Space station, we're Earth-dependent.
Right.
I'm a sailor, so we get to cislunar. Now you're days to a week away, so that's like crossing an ocean. Because, maybe help can come, but, you're going to be days or a week. At Mars is really far away. So you have to be completely Earth independent when we get to Mars. So we'll get there in the 2030s. As close to Mars as we've ever been.
Well, now I know that the moon dust, regolith, caused lots of problems for the astronaut suits, for the operation of the equipment, seals, etc. Does Martian dust present interesting problems that are similar, or did the moisture on Mars actually wear it into some nice smooth sand?
It'll present problems as well. So for the lunar regolith, fancy word for dirt, moon dust or dirt. So it's really sharp. It's kind of has a lot of shards in it. So it seems like really fine granules, but very spiky. It's not good for a spacesuit if you're pressurized. You don't want anything poking you.
No.
And so kind of sharp regolith. And we get to Mars, the dust we see. Really, all the rovers have been performing incredibly well. Of course, there's the wind, not like the big wind storms you saw on the Martian. I mean, we have a 1% atmosphere, so wind and dust, but kind of might feel like a feather instead of that big 150-mile-an-hour windstorm. So, but we worry about the dust because dust in bearings, no good. It can foul the bearings. It can make you, get a bearing joint. Now, if you didn't have bearings to start with, you'd still be pretty mobile. So it's a good design challenge.
Well, I also noticed, actually this might be something that astronauts watching the film also noticed, is that they got in and out of those spacesuits in minutes.
Pretty fast.
In that movie. And the actuality is it's more like 90 minutes to get into it, is it?
Right now it takes a while, but right now you get into the suit and you have to wash it out. You basically have to breathe oxygen. So you dehydrogenate. If you're a scuba diver, people know about this. You don't want to get decompression sickness or the bands, nitrogen, bubbles in your bloodstream. So you breathe pure oxygen. So that's actually what takes a while. Getting in the suit. Getting in the suit itself is minutes, 10 minutes. But then you're gonna breathe your oxygen. And you're gonna make sure that
as the suit pressurizes,
you're pressurized.
Okay.
But you're gonna sit in there for a while.
I see.
Given the oxygen content. So again, a little bit more like scuba diving, but because we're going to a low pressure environment. So in scuba diving, we go down deep and we're pressurized, and that's why you have to come up slow. You come up slow because you're losing pressure, and you don't want any gas in your bloodstream to go into volume. So you just do that really slowly. Get the inert, nitrogen is an inert gas in our bloodstream, so you want to get that out. So we go into a spacesuit. It's kind of like coming up from diving, if you will. You're going into a lower pressure environment.
Do you find, as an engineer visiting the various NASA facilities, now as an administrator, that you want to roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty and start to work with them?
Yes. That's why I like to go to the centers, because they have all the cool stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they have toy headquarters. I don't have too many toys yet. I'm waiting for a science on sphere and things like that. But I go out to the centers. I went to JPL. They got Mars rovers. I mean, how cool is that? And we got to do the problems. So, hey, the treads on the tires, they're wearing out because of the regolith. Well, we don't know. It's hard to know what the Mars dirt's made out of. Well, now we know because we're driving over it, and there's some funky wear on the tires, so they're studying it. They're in their Mars yard. I went to Marshall Space Flight Center, where the big engines, and we do the rocket propellant. So I asked a question, because I have a little 3D printer at MIT, but the one I could afford, $1,000 or so. My students run it 24/7. I went to Marshall and I said, how do we do 3D additive manufacturing with metals? Because I know you could do it, but I hadn't seen it. So there they are with aluminums. They showed me a rocket engine out of copper. had like 26 parts. A normal rocket engine has 168 parts that takes a long time to do them. They all have to come together. Boom, 3D printed rocket engine. Super cool.
Can they?
Super cool.
Wow. I have to say, I read a lot about how beat up the rover's tires are from the Martian surface, those wheels. It's astonishing to me. They're titanium, right? Am I correct? And they've got big holes in them from the rocks they're driving over. I had no idea that the surface was that rough.
Yeah, it seems to be. A little, it's a cold place, Mars. It's a harsh environment. But that rover's been doing pretty well.
It has been doing amazingly well. Are we looking maybe at future rovers that will be able to 3D print their own replacement parts on the road?
That's the challenge. I hope y'all ever said, you gotta make the maker, right? You don't get to send the maker to Mars. We gotta get to Mars, and the maker has to make itself.
I will go. If somebody wants to send me, I'm totally happy to go. Not just to space, just to help them out in space, not to Mars. The genesis of a NASA scientist, I mean, did you always want to go to space when you were a little girl? Is this something you'd been thinking about for a long time?
Well, I grew up in Montana. So we had a big sky country. My family's from Northern California, actually, the Berkeley area, right here in the Bay Area. And I guess we're always explorers. My family, my great-grandfather, I never got to meet him, but he came over in a boat from Finland. So I guess by nature, I had a genetic, disposition for exploration. But it was Apollo, for me. I was a young girl when I saw Apollo, and that just taught me to dream, right? If we could go to the moon, when I was growing up, we could do anything. So I didn't always know I was going to be an aerospace engineer. I definitely didn't know I was going to be deputy administrator of NASA. But you just dream, and, I love being an aerospace engineer. I kind of specialize in astronaut performance, so it's really fun because I want to see how we can keep our astronauts healthy and well and alive.
What is important? Why do we need to go to space? What is the import for NASA of pushing ourselves out into the solar system?
I can answer it for me. We all have to answer it for ourselves, but we're explorers. We're always going to go to the horizon. That's what humans have done and humankind. There's some practical reasons. Leadership, national pride, international pride, education, science. So we can go through the list. But the enduring questions, to go where no one's ever gone before, to go together. I think we'll go to Mars. It'll our journey to Mars, and ask for partners. We'd love the world to go with us. We were going to lead. That's what NASA does well. That's what the U.S. does well. We'd like to have a lot of international partners. But those are the enduring questions. We're explorers at heart. We go into the unknown. Our probes and space science go way beyond Mars. It's great to be at Mars, but New Horizons. Pluto. Now we've been to all the planets.
Amazing.
Dwarf planets I count. I count dwarf planets. So we're exploring, and then we had this is Exoplanet Week, so we've been celebrating all week exoplanets, and I had to study up. I learned a lot. That is hard to get your head around, that we have 1,000 exoplanets, 4,000 that are possible, 25 they call in the sweet zone, habitable planets, other galaxies. This is, wild.
Is there something that you've learned in your new job as administrator that you didn't realize about NASA as an organization? There's how many 100,000 people work at NASA? How many people work?
Well, we have less than 17,500 civil servants, government employees. But the contractors, of course, are our partners, our collaborators, work right with us at the centers too. So that's probably another 40,000. So added up, rough numbers, we're 60,000 folks that are, and then the university folks where I came from. So the grants and all the students and the professors are involved. So then it's, hundreds of thousands of people, I guess. But it's really, about 18,000 civil servants, and then of the 14,000 at our centers, that are just the contractors. So.
And you and I were at the White House Astronomy Night on Monday night, and Bill Nye said something I really, really liked, which is he said, the United States hasn't enjoyed the best reputation around the world, and it's been getting better lately, but NASA is the best brand we have. It is our greatest outreach. No one doesn't love NASA around the world.
That's right, I know, yay!
What about, sorry, my voice is trash because I was hooting and hollering yesterday in a crazy vehicle, but What about a little boy or a little girl who is interested in being a NASA scientist or an astronaut? What should they study? What should they look towards?
They should just go with their heart. I actually am a huge proponent, of course, of STEM, but I've changed it to STEAMed.
Yes!
So I put in the arts because I'm inspired by art. That was such a wonderful talk. I mean, it's about the artists. It's about the artists visioning our future. That's what they did. I want all you artists out there, please help me. What's the vision to Mars? Now you actually have some HD, great images to use because we know what it looks like. But you're so important. All the artists, the performance, because you're the storytellers. You're the storytellers for all of us nerds that are the technologists and the engineers. And then I always called it STEAM myself, but I put a D on recently for STEAMed because I need the maker generation. Because I need the ones who want to get down and dirty and 3D print. And if you're a designer, then NASA's for you. Then our journey to Mars is for you. Because all I know is I need everybody.
I think, thank you. Yes, absolutely. Has NASA been gaining insight or technologies from the maker community?
Yeah, we have some great examples. So, NASA Ames and going all the centers right here in the Bay Area, down to NASA Ames, and that's great because that's a small company, a new startup. Maiden Space, cool name. And these guys are doing 3D printing. Gave us our first 3D printer up on International Space Station.
And they printed a wrench that works.
Yeah, I have a copy of it. It's fantastic. And I mean, it looks, it's ABS, it's plastic. Okay, that's what. But in space and weightlessness, you don't need a lot of torque. So that's handy. We just saw a demonstration of torque on the pole, like the fishing pole here. But you get up there and it's like, because you spin Newton's third law, spin, you're going to move the other way. Now, when we start building things, again, get to the planets, we're going to need a little bit more. But again, now that we can probably do metals and alloys, basalt, there's a lot of basalt. We need to, that's going to be the material for the 3D printers of the planets.
Now, at the astronomy night, there was NASA's commercial crew who is working with both SpaceX and Boeing for the next generation of vehicles to take us up to the International Space Station. That's brand new for NASA.
Yeah, it's
that type
new
of
partnership. It's public, government-funded, public-private. So we're looking to industry. They are on board. It's exciting. Like you said, great brand. Everyone wants to play. We need everyone, and so we're actually again trying to be the new NASA in terms of what kind of partnerships can we have. If private industry's coming to us and they want to play, and we're depending on them. Right now we're depending on these folks for our commercial crew launches because that lets NASA get beyond low Earth orbit and get into exploration. Again, we got to get back to cislunar. We got to go beyond low Earth orbit. We'll still be in low Earth orbit as humanity. There's lots to do. There might be some big commercial gains there. The pharmaceutical industry, the material science industry. So again, that's more for the private sector to do. And then we'll move out and keep moving out into the solar system and explore.
And this is another question that a lot of people ask is, what are the practical results back here on Earth for us of the stuff that NASA researches and discovers?
Oh, I have a huge list. Knowledge, information, inspiration, practical things. NASA really didn't. The Tang thing, I don't think that really happened. That really was a NASA mission. But the shades, the solar shades and things like that, really Gore-Tex did come from the space industry. Mm-hmm. So again, it's just the investment in research and technology and materials. And again, I don't want to, the inspiration. The young girl like me, can see Apollo and end up being an aerospace engineer. So it's the whole story. It's the inspiration, and it's just getting things done. It's just striving to be excellent, to do the best, science and technology that we can.
Well, NASA encompasses so many different fields. One of the things we've worked with NASA several times on Mythbusters, many times over the last 13 years. And one of the things I find amazing is if you deal with scientists, you're often dealing with specialists who focus on a very specific thing. And at NASA, we'll be working at their fluid labs or something like that, and I find that even their specialists are generalists. They have hobbies that have nothing to do with the field that they're an expert in. And every NASA scientist I've ever met has that, from every astronaut and you as well. And that seems to pervade the whole culture of NASA, that kind of generalist idea.
I call them pie people, right? You get the pie for little, right? Pie, because you can be deep. You can be deep in maybe aerospace and maybe T people. The T model came first. Go deep in one, but you have to be broad. You want to be an educated person. So I'm an engineer, but I sure better know about economics and statistics and history and things like that. But being an engineer. I like pi better, 3.14. So maybe we can go deep in a couple areas, but then the broadening, the holistic view. I mean, you have to be able to communicate with your neighbor. You have to tell our stories as scientists and engineers, or else, no one will listen.
So how soon will we be allowed to take a quick trip to space for a week? How soon? A couple of years? 5 years? 10 years?
Oh, I hope within 10 years for sure. A couple
10 years. Okay, good.
Way within 10 years.
Way within 10 years? Can I go? Will you guys send me up there?
I think how much money do you make?
I don't have that much.
I can't afford it
but
yet.
I'm a communicator.
You're a communicator. Good.
Dava, thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
joining us
Adam.
in the
What a
talking room.
pleasure.
Please give her a huge
Thank
hand.
you. Thank you.
It was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. I'll give you.
Oh, thank you
I'm
so
a hugger.
much.
Thank you.